Yes, this is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerate it. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
We will keep kicking your ass every single day.
Oh yeah.
What's up, everybody? Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, TGIF, it's Friday. We got a great Friday show for you all. Fun times. We have fun news, disastrous news, and good news. Oh, that's weird. We rarely ever have good news, so that's fun. We have progressives fighting back against the Manchin side deal, but wait, only two of them. So I'm going to give you the details on that. And look, we got to pressure progressives in Congress, especially in the House. Looking at you, AOC. Looking at you, Rashida. Looking at you, progressives, the squad. You might want to jump on board to stop the side deal. And what is that? That is the Joe Manchin side deal. That is a disaster for the climate. We're going to talk about that later on in the show, along with, of course, Bernie Sanders, of course, being the first one to come out and say, that's it. We're not gonna do this anymore. We're not gonna give special deals to oil and gas companies while there's a climate emergency. All right, we're done with this. So again, Bernie Sanders leading the way, and I'm gonna tell you who the other progressive is that has decided to back Sanders as well. But first, before we get into all of that, we have CNN hiring a Islamophobe. Not a surprise. So I'm going to detail who that is. But first, we're going to have some fun. We have Biden going after Republicans, doing impressions. That's always fun. As somebody who likes to do impressions myself, I'm in for it. Let's do it. And then we have Trump threatening to sue Fox News. Fun. All right. By the way, thank you, Mithril, for becoming a member for 2 months. Always a joy to be here. This is a wonderful community, and Jeff does a fantastic job. Well, thank you very much, Mithril. I appreciate that. Much love to you. Much love to the rest of the members as well. Y'all make the show happen. So, hey, if you want to help out, you can become a member too. You can also gift memberships on YouTube as well as on Twitch. So that's super cool. That's a new thing that they're doing on YouTube. And by the way, SBloom85, our mod over on Twitch, resubbed for 21 months on Prime with Prime. So thank you. All right. With that said, let's do it. Let's jump into Biden. Hold on.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I had to. All right. We got buttons. Many, many buttons. Tremendous buttons. The best buttons. Dark Brandon made another appearance during a recent DNC meeting about the corporate bipartisan infrastructure bill, where he decided to make fun of Republicans. Take a look.
Republican, not a single one, House or Senate, voted for that legislation. We also passed once-in-a-generation investment in our nation's roads, highways, bridges, railroads, ports, airports, water system, high-speed internet. We got a little help from Republicans, but not a lot, but enough to get it passed. But the truth is, there are a lot more Republicans taking credit for that bill than we actually voted for it. I see them out there, and now we're going to build this new bridge here. We're all for it. And by the way, this new road, and we're going to have an internet that's going to be all the way. I love them, man. They ain't got no shame. They don't have any shame.
All right. So look, I think it's pretty clear who he's making fun of. That's Mitch McConnell. I know he doesn't do quite as well of a Mitch McConnell like what I do. We're out here to try to stop Joe Biden having a second term. But anyway, okay, so he's out there. He's making fun of Republicans. That's great. And what's funny about this, by the way, is, look, the bipartisan infrastructure bill was not that great of a bill, at least when it comes from a leftist perspective. I looked at that bill and I was like, no, you could definitely do a lot better. But look, and the reason is it contained, of course, massive giveaways to corporations. But at this point, what bill does not? Filled with tons of goodies that, by the way, Republicans love. More fossil fuel subsidies, pipelines, etc. Now, that said, there's also a lot of good things in it, too, because right now we badly need to rebuild infrastructure. And so, look, the fact that it was bipartisan enough to get some Republicans and Joe Manchin on board, that does show how business friendly and pro-corporate it really was. Now, that said, the point that I'm trying to make is, did that matter at all to Republicans? No. No. The majority of Republicans played politics and voted against it. And then, by the way, they turned around, went back to their districts, and are like, oh, did you see all this federal money I brought back for you to rebuild these bridges? Yeah, I got that money to repair your bridge, so you should vote for me again. Now, look, this is not a new phenomenon. It's not like this has never happened before. Republicans have been doing this for decades, voting against, funding bills, and then going and taking the money and saying, look, I want a shower in my district. Making it rain over here. So seeing Biden point that out, well, that's good politics. I mean, it excites the base. It's fun. And again, he's out there selling what, to be honest, a lot of Democrats see as a fairly big win or a substantial win. All right. And there's nothing wrong with that politically. In fact, I think that's a very smart way to do things, to go out and actually sell the things that you do. Even if, personally, I think a lot of us, especially on the progressive side, we don't think that that's enough. Fair enough. But that said, there was a little bit of a portion that bothered me, and it's when he talks about MAGA Republicans. So I'm going to give you the quote here. He said, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican is a MAGA Republican. Not every Republican raises extreme ideology. I know because I've worked with them and the mainstream Republicans, and I know there's still a few of them left. So you might think, okay, that's perfectly fine. That's reasonable, right? Because, Republicans choose a different path from the MAGA Republicans. Now, the problem is, they're all MAGA Republicans. In fact, look, I don't like using the term MAGA Republicans because they're just Republicans. Look, he also accused the extreme set of MAGA Republicans of working towards anger, violence, hate, and division. Biden also called for Democrats, independents, and mainstream Republicans to choose a different path together. But as I'm saying, look, he's wrong about MAGA Republicans not being the mainstream of the party. They are the majority of the party. There's no MAGA Republicans. They're just Republicans. And they are mostly all working with anger, violence, hate, and division. That is the mainstream of the party. And let me give you some stats on that. This is from polling. 2/3 of Republicans believe that Biden stole the election from Trump. 2/3. That's a majority. Over 60%, again, almost 2/3, said that they would support former President Donald Trump if he were indicted of a crime. Hey, he's a criminal. Don't care. Oh, did he steal classified documentation? Don't care. That's our guy. Now, the majority of those people, by the way, they're Southern voters, 32%, rural voters, 38%, Gen X, 38%. What is wrong with my parents' generation? Or at least 38% of them. And white women who did not graduate college, 44%. So these people are the people that are saying he's a criminal, but we don't give a damn. That's our guy. In fact, Donald Trump being a criminal, well, that just makes us want to support him more. Now, look, maybe that's a result of conservative media painting everything as a witch hunt. Okay, but look, the fact is he has had classified nuclear documents at his residence, at Mar-a-Lago, a country club where, anybody could just walk in. And again, there's video of just random people walking in and out of that same office, the storage area where he had kept some of these classified documents. Now, look, if Joe Biden had done that, the right wing would be apoplectic. And by the way, everybody should be, because that would be awful. But you don't see Democrats doing that. You don't see other people doing it. You didn't even see a lot of Republicans doing it. George W. Bush never did that. No, it's Donald Trump. And yet, first, Trump lies about it. He gets his lackeys, his lawyers to go and lie about it. People on right-wing media to lie about it. And then lying about Obama taking 33 million documents home with him, which he didn't. It's just a flat-out lie. My point is, though, MAGA Republicans, no such thing. They're just Republicans. There's no difference. There's no distinction. Joe Biden, stop pretending. Stop pretending that those people, and again, there's a reason that a lot of these politicians are now doing the things that they're doing on the right. It's because it's the base. It's the base of Republicans, Republican voters. The electorate has become far more extreme and are very, very open with it. There is no distinction. If you are still a Republican, and look, even if you personally don't like Donald Trump, I don't agree with what he's doing. I think he's a little bit too, radical, whatever like that. But if you're still voting for him, or you're still voting for people who've openly supported him, then you're part of the problem. If you think I'm being unfair saying that, well, that's your problem. And if you don't agree with that, if your feelings are hurt right now, then why don't you do something about it? Why don't you go and actually fight against that part of your party? Well, you won't, because you think, Trump might be bad, but I just think that Biden and the Democrats they must be worse. Well, then you are part of the problem. And all I'm doing is pointing out the facts. If it makes you uncomfortable, sad day for you. All right. Speaking of the non-MAGA Republic, or the non-Trump supporting Republicans, the few that there are. Let's go to that. In another case of let them fight, former President Donald Trump has threatened to sue Fox News. So now on his failing
Truth, essential.
platform, Trump announced that he is considering suing the news network for what he calls false advertising. So let me explain, because any lawsuit on this would make absolutely no sense and would get laughed out of court. It's ridiculous. But what happened is the Lincoln Project has bought some airtime, and they ran it in a very specific local market where Trump happens to own a golf course. So what they did is Trump's at Bedminster or Trump's wherever, Mar-a-Lago. We're going to buy an ad specifically in that market so we know he's going to see it. And it's going to piss him off, and then it'll be funny. And guess what? It was. Now, here's the thing. It was not bought through Fox News, and it did not air nationally. But again, those are facts. Facts don't matter because Donald Trump's feelings took over, and he had a lot of those feelings. Let me first show you the ad to illustrate why.
Trump told you the election was stolen to rip you off, to sucker you, to take your hard-earned money and shovel it into his pockets. He spent it on himself, not to take back the White House. It was the biggest scam in political history. Every dollar you sent him paid to keep his shaky business empire and lavish lifestyle going. It was a sucker's game all along. And you know who the sucker is? It's you.
Oh, he don't like that. He didn't like that at all. Because you know, he was sitting there, and that ad comes up on the TV. Well, we also know, thanks to his response. In fact, I'm going to give you that. He said, "The perverts and lowlifes of the Lincoln Project are back on. Where else? Fox News. I thought they ran away to the asylum after their catastrophic campaign with charges made against him that were big-time sleaze. And me getting many millions more votes in 2020 than I got in 2016. Not enough to win. The Paul Ryan-run Fox only has high standards for Trump ads, but not for anyone else. The perverts should not be allowed to false advertise. And Fox News should not allow it to happen. See you all in court." Now, as I mentioned before, that lawsuit has about a 0% chance of actually happening. Likely because, look, it's a ridiculous premise suing Fox News for that. For, again, freedom of speech, too. But also, if they did, if he did try to sue them, well, then any court that would take it might have to ask him some uncomfortable questions about discovery, especially since the whole crux of the ad or the charges against him or allegations is that he bilked people out of money. So the obvious question is, where did the money go? What did you do with the money that you got from your donors? That's a question that Donald Trump would likely not want to answer. Like, where did you spend that money? Did you buy autographed pictures of yourself like you did with the charity that got shut down? Again, Trump consistently takes money from people and then lies about where it's actually going. He also claims to be rich, and of course we find out that he's got the RNC that was paying his legal bills to the tune of up to $1.6 million. So if you're a Republican, you donate to the Republican Party, the RNC, you're paying Trump's legal bills from before he became president. Before he even started running for president, he had legal bills that the RNC stepped in to pay. No, total and complete grift. He's taking all of this money and just spending it on himself, his own bills. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, what is he doing with his own money? Or is, why would a supposed billionaire be using other people's money? Because that's all he's ever done, is use people's money. Now, look, if you want to be a sucker, okay? If you're a Republican and you're giving money to Trump, go ahead, give him all the money you want. I'm not going to stop you. But hey, I at least want you to know where it's going to, and that it's not going, very likely not going to the thing you sent him money for. It's going right into his pocket. Now, pointing that out, of course, is why Trump has gotten so mad. Now, that said, one of the founders of the Lincoln Project, Rick Wilson, decided to respond to Donald Trump. Here's what he first said to Mediaite. In 2020, the Lincoln Project took up a long-term free lease in Trump's brain. His threat to sue the Lincoln Project today is like Trump himself. Impotent, flabby, and pathetic. Ooh. Let me just say, that's pretty funny. But it gets better, because in a video message he sent on Twitter addressing Trump, he said this.
Go for it. Go for it, bitch. Come at me. I can't wait. You're not going to sue anybody, Donald. You're not going to do shit. You're not going to do a goddamn thing. You are weak. You are impotent. You are flabby. You are a thief of classified documents. You are a traitor to this country. You've tried to overthrow this government and the system of our peaceful transition of power, and fuck you. We will keep kicking your ass every single day.
Look, I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed that immensely. Look, obviously, I don't agree with Republicans on policy, but one thing I can respect about them is that they will fight, and they'll be vicious about it. I think that's something that is lacking generally on the left. Okay, at least when it comes to Democratic politicians, they really don't know how to fight like this. But Republicans do. They will rip you apart rhetorically. I happen to like strength in politics. I enjoy it. I enjoy kicking my opponent's ass in a rhetorical way, of course. We're not talking violence here. We're not into violence. But look, that's why I've actually been enjoying some of the Dark Brandon stuff as well. Because, hey, oh, look, you know, look, Joe Biden's getting a little feisty. I love it. And by the way, a lot of Democrats are feeling the same way. Like, oh, hey, look at that. Joe Biden's got some pep in his step, and he's actually going after Republicans. Good. Good. Now, as far as this goes, look, Lincoln Project's good for one thing. Getting under Donald Trump's skin. It might not do anything. It's probably not going to convince any MAGA chuds. But God damn it, it feels good. And I'm here for it. All right.
We will keep kicking your ass every single day.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's do it. A little bit more serious story here. Let's talk about why CNN is terrible. Even worse than it was before. CNN continues to go further to the right after their new CEO had taken over. That's Chris Licht. The most recent example, after firing several more of their anti-Trump personalities, they decided to hire a former police official who was caught lying about the department, the New York Police Department, illegally spying on Muslim Americans. So now Licht, CNN's new chairman and CEO, recently said in a press release that he was hiring John Miller, a former New York City Police Department official, to be its chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst. He said John will help deliver on CNN's commitment to tackle complex issues while presenting audiences with independent, objective news and meaningful analysis across platforms. As both a brilliant journalist and experienced, compelling subject matter expert, he brings to the network an incredible breadth of knowledge. Well, unless, of course, he's talking about Muslims, which he will, of course, lie about and consider them all to be terrorists. Look, he was testifying before the New York City Council back in March. During that testimony, Miller denied that the NYPD had ever inappropriately spied on Muslims. Well, again, that's a lie, because the department had acknowledged that it had inappropriately spied on Muslims. Now, this was the post 9/11 Muslim surveillance programs, where they, again, literally spied on American citizens that happened to be Muslim. Now, while running the program, which was exposed in 2011 by a real journalist, In a 2011 Pulitzer Prize-winning Associated Press report, the NYPD had used census data to spy in on Muslim Americans in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, placing undercover informants in predominantly Muslim communities. The informants took pictures and videos of mosque-goers, recorded the license plate numbers of worshipers, chatted with Muslim business owners, hung out in hookah bars, which sounds fun, and reported everything back to the NYPD. So for all of that, what did they find? Did they foil any possible terror attacks? Well, the answer is no, a flat out no. Again, these are American citizens, and so they found absolutely nothing. In fact, the program did not produce a single lead to any terrorist plot. So what you did is that you violated these people's privacy, their freedom to worship, their First Amendment rights, profiled them based on their religion and ethnicity for literally no reason, just because you're afraid of Muslims. And then you come out and lie about it, about that program existing. Oh, we didn't inappropriately spy in on Muslims. No. Oh, you know what? I get it. To him, it wasn't inappropriate because they're Muslims. It was totally appropriate, and we had to spy in on them. So let me ask you, is that the kind of objective, meaningful analysis this guy's going to bring to CNN? I thought facts were supposed to matter at CNN. No, not under Licht. Again, this guy is a known liar and an Islamophobe, and yet Licht said, oh, you hate Muslims? And you are willing to lie to the American people? Welcome aboard. No, it's disgusting. Now, members of the Muslim community, of course, have spoken out. First one is Shahana Hanif, the first female Muslim member of the New York City Council. Talking to HuffPost, said this: for him to be able to take on a position that will give him a broader impact to an outlet that many of us trust is just another reminder of just how Muslims in our city are treated. I hope that CNN is watching the kind of backlash and the response to this hiring, and they should take very seriously the voices of the Muslim community because we are viewers too. We too want objective news. News outlets, this is according to Naz Ahmad, who is the acting director of the Creating Law Enforcement Accountability and Responsibility Project at the University of New York School of Law, saying, quote, news outlets need to remember and call out the NYPD's actions and the damaging effect they had on Muslim Americans. The unwillingness to reflect upon the outcomes of what you have done and to not see that as a problem, I think that suggests that maybe somebody's going to have trouble being objective. At the very least, don't deny that it happened. Total gaslighting by this guy. Say, oh no, it didn't happen. We never spied on Muslims. Not inappropriately, at least. No, it happened. NYPD literally admitted it. And still, this guy's going to go on and give his expert legal opinion. Gross. Ahmed Mohammed, the legal director of the New York chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, said he questions whether Miller can be credible for a major news network. Quote, he had a major role in destroying the lives of Muslims in New York City, leading the unconstitutional surveillance program. He shouldn't have a similar role at CNN, further stigmatizing and marginalizing Muslims. I agree with that. They need to get rid of this guy immediately. Now, unfortunately, Chris Licht probably is not going to, because this is a trend. In a recent piece in Media Matters, they noted that the recent firings of John Harwood and Brian Stelter are sending a message that too much criticism of the right may cost you your job. Now, who happens to be generally in the right wing? Well, people who don't like Muslims. For one, that happens to be a major right-wing position. And so, who is, again, taking over on CNN, right-wingers. And look, here's the thing. You want to be a conservative network, you want to have a conservative viewpoint, I don't have a problem with that. But what I have a problem with is the false equivalency. Look, to the new owner of CNN, being nonpartisan, being objective, and being balanced, this means not criticizing Republicans. That's really it. They went after Breonna Taylor for criticizing Republicans. They went after Brian Stelter for criticizing Republicans, especially Trump. And by the way, Licht also reportedly instructed staff to stop using the term big lie to refer to the claims about the 2020 election, saying that it was too close to Democrats' branding. But wait a minute. It was a lie. There was no mass voter fraud. There wasn't a rigged and stolen election. So it's not the Democrats' branding. It's a fact. That's not an example of being nonpartisan or balanced. No, that's basically saying, oh, we can't criticize the right wing, our beloved Republicans who still believe in election denials. No, if there's corruption, if there's hypocrisy, if there's an issue, and it doesn't matter if it's on the left or right, you should report it because it's news. And let me tell you, I know Republicans lie, and I know Democrats, corporate Democrats lie as well. Both have had issues with corruption. Both have done self-dealing. But at this point, understand that there's not really a balance here. There's not really both sides do it equally. No, one side clearly is against our own system of government. The Republican Party, 2/3 of them do not believe that the president of the United States was legitimately elected. Despite, again, numerous cases, recounts, and even Trump-appointed judges saying, we cannot find mass voter fraud. There's nothing to it. Yes, it was a legitimate win by Joe Biden. 2/3 of Republicans say, nope, don't believe it. 61% of Republicans would vote for Trump, again, even if it was found to be a criminal, even if he was indicted over taking home classified material. Nearly 1/3 of Republicans believe it might be a time for violence against the government. Do we see any Democrats talking about that? No. No. These two sides are not even. This is an incredibly uneven political landscape where, again, you have one side, one political party that represents insurrectionists. This is not even. And yet, if you talk about that on CNN, you could lose your job. You want to talk about cancel culture? That's cancel culture. No, facts, talking about facts, putting out actual real information should not cost you your job. You know why? Because your job is supposed to be facts. To be objective is to report reality without fear or favor to either side. You should be able to call out Republicans and Democrats if they do the wrong thing. But see, this is the problem, right? Licht, of course, has a bias. He wants to make a lot of money. He wants to court the conservative audience. He wants to be another Fox News. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. And so, look, we've already got one Fox News. Don't really need another. Really don't. Okay, so now look. There is one thing that CNN could actually do to try to, I don't know, get more ratings. Actually get people to watch. And that is to do their job. Call out corruption from both sides. Real corruption. Look, corporate Republicans and Democrats take money from large corporations. They generally do their bidding. If you call them out, well, you're going to get people that are interested in watching that. You'll be like, oh, wow, it turns out we do have corruption and you're doing real reporting. But they don't do that. Why is that? Well, because a lot of the money going to mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, comes from political campaigns buying ads on their network. It's $1 billion industry. They make a ton of money during election season running those ads. You think they're going to call out money in politics? That's where the real corruption is. Money in politics. They're never going to call it out because they make so much money off of it. And so I guess what they're doing now, since younger people are not tuning into mainstream cable TV anymore, they're creating this false balance, and they're catering to the right wing. It's a disaster. You're not going to out Fox. You're not going to be Fox News. You're not going to get those viewers, which are overwhelmingly elderly, honestly. Fox viewers are what? Average age of 79? You're not going to get those people to go over to CNN. No matter what you do, they're still going to hate you. But in the meantime, what you're doing is dangerous because you are legitimizing dangerous ideas from an extreme party. Again, a pro-insurrectionist party. We're not having discussions about, I think marginal tax rates should be a little higher, a little bit lower. No, that's not the conversation we're having. Conversation is about, should we overthrow the government? That is not a conversation we need to be having. And that needs to be legitimized. Or even, again, going back to this guy, whether or not it's good to spy in on Muslims who have done nothing wrong just because they're Muslims. No. Legitimizing horrible views just in order to make money. CNN should be absolutely ashamed of itself. But unfortunately, right now, they're not. Okay. I never expected Discovery would transform into this. Yeah. Sadly. All right, let's give you some good news. Good news for those who believe in reproductive rights in the state of Michigan. A proposal to protect abortion rights in the Mitten State is now back on the November ballot. Now, this is thanks to intervention from the state's Supreme Court. So now, before I get to what the proposed amendment would do, let me tell you how we got here. So back in July, there was a massive petition drive that ended up garnering about 750,000 signatures from across the state in order to codify reproductive rights in the Michigan State Constitution. Now, obviously, that's way more than they actually needed to put this on the measure, to put this on the ballot. And so they took it to, the court, or they took it to the elections officials. And it turns out that got shut down. Opponents of the measure said the petitions happened to be invalid because of what was basically a series of typos, spaces between some of the words that were not readily visible, thanks to a glitch in some of the printing. The opponents claimed the petitions were then incomprehensible and thus not valid. Two Republicans who sat on the Michigan four-person election board agreed and voted against authorizing that amendment. So now the proposed amendment, of course, would codify reproductive rights currently enjoyed by women in Michigan, women and trans people, non-binary, etc., and would basically not allow a 1931 law that prohibits abortion at any stage in pregnancy in almost all circumstances. Now, that was one of the laws in the books that, of course, would have come into effect following the ruling of the Supreme Court that struck down Roe. Now, that has not went into effect yet because it has been blocked by several lower court rulings, several injunctions that have prevented prosecutors from bringing cases against doctors who have performed those abortions. But they have been appealed. Now, the only way to really, of course, protect reproductive rights in Michigan is to codify them, and that's where, of course, this petition came into play. So, that said, after this was blocked by the four-person election board, supporters of the amendment then asked the state Supreme Court to intervene, arguing that the meaning of the amendment was clear even with the compressed words, and that the election board had no authority to block an initiative when it so clearly had overwhelming public support. And on Thursday, the court agreed and ordered the election board to certify the amendment. So now look, before I get into more details, understand that the opponents of this, people who want to block abortion, who want that 1931 law to be applied to every pregnant person in the state, how desperate they are to get this, to not give people an opportunity to do direct democracy in the form of a ballot initiative to protect their bodily autonomy. They use the excuse of, oh, there wasn't enough space in between words. Oh, incomprehensible. We can't read it. Well, just because you can't read it doesn't mean no one else can. It's amazing that they would use this ridiculous excuse when you have such a clear, again, people understood. I signed the ballot measure. I read it. I didn't have a problem with it. So, like, I've had a look at it. I could read it. Not a problem. And so did, again, 750,000 other Michiganders. Now, the vote on the 7-member court ended up being 5-2. And in a brief unsigned opinion, the majority explained that the meaning of the words had not been changed by the alleged insufficient spacing between them. And now there was an even better majority opinion. And this is a concurring opinion written by Chief Justice Bridget Mary McCormick. You're going to love this. She said 753,759 Michiganders signed this proposal, more than have ever signed any proposal in Michigan history. Noting that the challengers produced no evidence that any voters were actually confused by the wording, McCormick accused those opponents of trying to disenfranchise millions of Michiganders because they think that they have identified a technicality that allows them to do so. A game of gotcha gone very bad. Well, look, that's the thing. It's all the abortion, anti-abortion opponents have. I'm sorry, the people that support, banning abortion. That's all they have. What they want to do is strip people of their rights based on some of the most technical and inane arguments. They don't want to do it based on the merits, and they don't want to do it based on the will of the people, because the vast majority of people do not agree with banning abortion completely, without exceptions. And so, look, most of the country supported Roe. The vast majority of the country does not believe that government should be forcing people to carry pregnancies. And by the way, Roe, the way that it was set up, did allow the government to have an interest in protecting fetuses that were viable and could survive outside the womb. In reality, Roe was actually the compromise position, and actually the better position, because it still allowed states to impose certain restrictions after a certain point. And again, that point being viability. But as I said before, and I'll keep saying it, this was never about being pro-life. It's always been about control. It's always been about power. Power over women's bodies, power in political power, because they had been running on this for a very, very long time on these so-called pro-life platforms. And look, that's really why they didn't want this position on the ballot at all, because of the possible political consequences of it. Recently, Republican politicians, look, they fucked around, and now they're finding out. All right?
They are about to find out.
And they are. They have seen races that have played out really, really badly over the issue of abortion, where you had Democrats taking the pro-choice position and doing so very strongly in elections. And then, you even had ballot initiatives, amendments here in Kansas, for example, that kept the right of choice for women, for pregnant people. So, if an amendment to make sure to protect the right of people to get abortions can win in a place like Kansas, well, that really was the wake-up call. Oh, look, we better back away from this position. We might want to take a more moderate position, which again also shows how a lot of them really viewed this issue. Not about being pro-life. If you can moderate your position to go, oh, you know what? I never really said I was 100% pro-life. It should be abortion completely. No. Well, then you weren't pro-life to begin with. Again, about power, about control. So now one of the races, by the way, is that is going to be impacted by this now is the Michigan gubernatorial race. Now that's between Gretchen Whitmer and Tudor Dixon. Now, Gretchen Whitmer is pro-choice. She's very clear about that. Tudor Dixon is insane. In fact, in a July interview, she was asked by podcaster Charlie McDuff, which, by the way, that's kind of a cool name. I'm Charlie McDuff. Now, she was asked by McDuff a question about exceptions for rape and incest that, and if Tudor Dixon would support them. He said, the question would be like a 14-year-old who, say, is a victim of abuse by an uncle. You're saying, carry that. She then called it a perfect example because I know people who are the product. A life is a life for me. So again, you're going to force a teenage girl who was raped by a family member to then be forced to carry that fetus to term, have that, and then have the baby. That's horrifying. And in August, when given a chance to follow up by Fox 2's Rup Raj, Dixon did not change her position. She said, I talked to those people who were the child of rape victim, and the bond those two people made, and the fact that out of that tragedy, there was healing through that baby. Healing. So look, Tudor Dixon has taken an extremist position, and one that is clearly not popular in the state. In fact, according to recent polling, 60% of Michiganders now support this ballot measure, and it also found that it was the top factor motivating voters to the polls, polling ahead of inflation, education, and crime. So that's like the number one issue now is protecting reproductive choice among Michigan voters. Not so good for Dixon, who, by the way, had recently had a pretty hilarious tweet saying, "Well, now that that it's on the ballot, you can vote for that and then vote for me." Well, what would be the point? I mean, seriously, that's a bizarre message. Oh yeah, you can totally support this ballot measure to enshrine reproductive choice that I'm totally 100% against, and then you could also vote for me. Fascinating. But once again, it just shows you the impact that this discussion, this abortion issue is having in these races all over the country. And how important it is, to people to protect their own bodily autonomy. It's great. Okay. I didn't make a sidebar for this one. Let me just fix that real quick. Sanity in the control room. All right. Here we go. Senator Bernie Sanders is fighting back against the side deal between Manchin and Schumer to create more pipelines, specific pipeline projects that would benefit Joe Manchin. So now here's what he said on Twitter. I will now vote for any bill that makes it easier for big oil to destroy the planet, and that includes improving the Mountain Valley Pipeline. And he also pointed at the continuing resolution, which is, of course, a short-term bill to fund the government. He said, look, if you're going to put that into the continuing resolution, then guess what? I'm going to vote against the continuing resolution. He said, quote, it must not be held hostage by big oil. Now, the measure that is being considered by Schumer to be put into the continuing resolution includes approval to speed up the Mountain Valley Pipeline in Senator Joe Manchin's home state of West Virginia. So now Sanders, of course, went to the Senate floor and talked about this, which, look, this deal is a terrible deal. But here's how they did it. First, you had Democratic leaders and Biden agreeing to pass this in order to get Joe Manchin on board for passing the Inflation Reduction Act. So now winning Manchin's support, according to Insider, was crucial for the party to advance the slimmed-down version of Biden's economic agenda. The inclusion of permitting changes, however, reflects a disastrous side deal between Manchin and Democratic leadership, Sanders says, adding that these reforms are in opposition with the energy policy that the U.S. should be pursuing. At a time when climate change is threatening the very existence of our planet, why would anyone be talking about substantially increasing carbon emissions and fossil fuel production? He also warned a revolt among House Democrats, saying at least 59 Democratic lawmakers would release a letter stating their opposition to the deal. However, of course, Manchin defended his position, saying that the Inflation Reduction Act included funding for several different kinds of clean energy projects, and then said, if I thought that it was damaging for climate, I would have never done it. We're talking about solar farms, wind farms, but we have to have the fossil horsepower that we need right now. Well, I mean, you could just stop exporting oil to other countries. I mean, the United States is the top oil exporter in the world. Hey, if you need, energy, well, we've got all the energy we need right here. Why are we sending it out to the rest of the world? You don't need more pipelines or more drilling. Just use the stuff that we're already sending out to the rest of the world. While we set up those solar farms, etc., the wind farms. But here's the thing, okay? Joe Manchin, not surprising, he's lying to us. Look, this side deal, again, is put in an unrelated bill and would actually release greenhouse gas emissions equivalent to 26 different coal plants or 19 million new cars on the road. And it also negates any of the good stuff that was in the IRA. Any of the investments and stuff. And by the way, a lot of the stuff in the Inflation Reduction Act also relies on the carbon capture technology, which again is not, it's been very, very oversold. Corporations absolutely love this little offset because it doesn't actually really do a whole lot for the climate. Now, according to reports from The Lever, there is a reason, of course, that Manchin and Schumer came to this little side deal. And it wasn't exactly for the benefit of the IRA, it was for the benefit of their donors. The pipeline deal was originally negotiated by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senator Joe Manchin, who are respectively Congress's top recipients of fossil fuel and utilities industry campaign cash. One utility and pipeline company that could benefit from the deal has actually funded more than $400,000 to Democrats' Senate and House campaign committees. Another one, Next Era, whose executives are also among Manchin's major donors, happen to be Schumer's second largest campaign donors as well. Oh, weird. It's a very, very strange coincidence there. That company has given more than $200,000 to both the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee and the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. In all, Schumer is Congress's top recipient of donations from electric utilities And one of Schumer's former aides has also been lobbying for utility companies on pipeline and permitting issues. Huh, weird. It's almost, again, if they're just using this side deal as a massive corporate giveaway to their top donors. This deal should not be allowed. Now, Bernie Sanders is doing the right thing and standing against it. And look, I know corporate media is going to complain endlessly, right? Oh, how dare you? How dare Bernie Sanders? You would threaten to not fund the government over this? How dare you, Bernie Sanders? Sabotage this deal. Did the corporate media go after Joe Manchin for sabotaging Build Back Better? Again, that's literally what he did. No, Bernie Sanders is doing the right thing because right now, look, climate change is an existential threat. We know this. We should be doing energy policy that does not include new pipelines and new deals, new fossil fuel drilling, new coal mining. More than 650 groups have warned that this pipeline bill will be a climate bomb, an environmental disaster. And yet, here we have Schumer and Manchin doing a bribe. Basically. Or I should say, paying back the bribes that they have already received through this policy. No, what we progressives should do, and this is a message to progressives in the House and in the Senate, is to do what Joe Manchin did to Build Back Better. Oh, you made a deal with us? Oh, you believed us? Well, Joe Manchin, you're a sucker because we're not going to do your horrible side deal. That has nothing to do with the continuing resolution to fund the government. It's just a bribe, a dirty, dirty bribe to your and a gift to your, corporate donors. That's all it is. And we don't have to support it because we never signed on for it. We never signed on to support it. Look, here's the thing. They only need 5 House Democrats to shut it down. That's, of course, assuming Republicans won't, vote for the deal. They won't vote for the CR. I would say that's a pretty fair assumption. I guess maybe Nancy Pelosi could go and talk to her Republican friends and say, oh, you need to support this continuing resolution so that, Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer can get their oil and gas goodies. Now, again, we only need 5 Democrats. That's it. Now, sadly, there's only been one that has signed on so far. Bernie Sanders in the Senate, of course, but you need 5 House Democrats to shut it down in the House. We only have one, and that's Ro Khanna. Now, Ro Khanna said, hey, I'm not going to sign on to this deal. I'm not going to sign on to a continuing resolution if this deal is stuck in it. Not going to do it. And so all credit to Ro Khanna on this one, and hopefully he stands by his word and does vote against it. But for all the other Democrats here, progressives in the House, where are you? AOC, where are you? Rashida Tlaib, where are you? Ilhan Omar, where are you? Other progressives, Progressive Caucus, where are you? Now, hopefully, you will sign on with Ro Khanna. Hopefully, you'll be like, yes, you know what? I'm going to join in, and I'm going to stop Manchin's dirty side deal. We're not interested in this, and Bernie Sanders is right. Now, I'm hoping they will come out and make statements, but so far, we haven't heard anything. And so, look, there is time. Do the right thing. Shut down the side deal. Make sure they strip it out of the continuing resolution so they don't get their dirty little bribes. Do the right thing, progressives. Fight. That's all we ask you to do. All right. Ro will stand by his word. Hopefully, yes. Wow, that's looks like that's all the time I have. Jesus. All right, everybody. We're gonna read some super chats here and thank some members as well. There are any super chats? There are. Okay, let me read some of those. First, member comment here from Koru saying, to talk about something completely inane, what's with the background change? Did you move? I switched rooms. I actually moved the studio into the smaller downstairs area because, honestly, I didn't need all the space upstairs for doing just this. And yes, I do plan to kind of decorate the background. I just have to find some room, or not room, sorry, but some time for it to decorate the room. So don't worry. It won't be as plain Jane as it is right now. So that said, no green screen though. Yeah, no, I'm not going to go with the green screen. No, I'm not in a basement either. I'm just in a downstairs room, and actually, it makes it a lot cooler too. I don't know, it just works better. No, I moved myself. I'm actually closer to my wife than being downstairs. So it works out better. Let's see. Gabby Mathis, thank you for the very kind $10. Love your show and the family and friends. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Basement is big downstairs room, but it's not a basement though. I have a Michigan basement, which is just like, well, okay, I'm sure you know what a Michigan basement is. Again, if you're from Michigan, it's not very big. So no, it is not a basement. We are on just the first floor. Trust me, if I had a basement that was nice, I actually would be down there. All right, so anyway, thank you for those super chats. Really appreciate it. By the way, if you haven't already, like and share the stream. Kaylee Fox, thank you for resubbing for a month at tier 1 for 4 months. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you. More than 70 House Democrats push against Manchin's permitting reform. But did they say, though, you can call me Jess, thank you for posting that. But the question, though, is not sending a letter. The letter is like the weakest thing. Coming out and saying, I'm going to vote against a continuing resolution, that's where the strength is. And that's what Bernie Sanders is saying. And that's what Ro Khanna is saying. So we're not just going to do a letter. Okay, letter, strongly worded letter, and it's not even that strongly worded. No, you have to come out against to keep putting this continuing resolution into, or I'm sorry, putting this side deal into the continuing resolution. You have to say, I'm going to vote against that continuing resolution. I'm going to vote against funding the government if you have that nasty thing stuck in there. So that's what I'm talking about. And again, as far as I know, Ro Khanna is the only one that has promised to vote down the CR. Okay. Oh no, I don't need have a painter or anything like that. Don't do letters, rather you're based on political and direct action pressure. Yeah, it only mentions the letter. Hey, no, I appreciate though you trying to send that message. You can call me Jess. I do appreciate that. But again, I just wanted to be clear. I already knew about the letter, and the letter is just not enough. It's got to be an action that could really, force them to take that side deal out. Wanted to see if anyone spoke up as well. Again, only Ro Khanna. So all credit to him, by the way. So, hey, the AOC, where are you? Let's go. All right. Well, like I said, that's all we got for the week. Thank you all. Have a fantastic weekend. Let's see who we're going to raid. You're on Twitch. Let's see. It's been a while. Let's raid KF Logan 1875. See what's going on there. I hope Ro doesn't back out like he did on Build Back Better. Yeah, that's true. That's a very good. Yeah, I agree with that. I hope he doesn't either. So, all right, everybody. Again, have a great weekend. Really, really appreciate you all. Thank you. Appreciate the super chats. Like and share the stream as always, and have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Back to the normal schedule. Love you all, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all Monday.
Oh yeah.
Fired!
Go for it, bitch. Come at me.
Tighten up my knees. Obama. Clean coal, meaning they're taking out coal, they're going to clean it.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door. We will keep kicking your ass every single day.